So in this video, we'll be looking at finding an angle given two sides, okay, using trigonometry. So we're going to go back to the idea of using SOH CAH TOA again, and just reminding you that SOH is sine of theta equals to the opposite length divided by the hypotenuse length. CAH is the cos of theta equal to the adjacent length divided by the hypotenuse length. And TOA is tan of theta equals to the opposite length divided by the adjacent length. Okay, and reminding you that theta is just an angle, and OAH are the lengths, okay, for the sides of the triangle. Again, reminding you that the opposite length is opposite to the angle theta, the adjacent is just adjacent right below it, and the hypotenuse is the longest length of the triangle. Okay, so what's key thing is, in the last video, what we did was we rearranged, we were given an angle, we were given a side, and we're finding a missing side, and we actually rearranged the equation to find our side. In this situation, what we're going to do is I'll just use sine theta equals to opposite over hypotenuse as an example. Is what we'll do is we'll have sine of angle theta, and we'll have our opposite and hypotenuse lengths. And to find angle theta, what we'll do is we'll have theta is equal to the inverse of sine, opposite length divided by the hypotenuse. And in your calculator, you can find it just above the sine. So if you go shift sine or sin, you get the inverse symbol right there. And you get the same for the cos and the same for the tan. And that's what we'll be doing to find our angle, okay, our missing angle. So let's actually go and look at an example. So down here, I've got a triangle with a hypotenuse length of 8 and an opposite length of 4. So what I'll do is I'll actually go down and write down sine of angle theta is equal to my opposite length divided by my hypotenuse length. Okay, and then I'll take my sine across and I'll have the inverse of sine, so sine to the negative 1, in brackets 4 divided by 8. Okay, and I'll go to my calculator and go shift sin, or sine, divided by brackets, make sure you put brackets, 4 divided by 8, and close the bracket, and we get an angle of 30. So therefore, theta is equal to 30 degrees. Okay, so that angle over there, theta, must equal to 30 degrees for these two sides. Alright, let's look at another triangle down here. So we've got a hypotenuse length of 6 and an adjacent length of 2. So this time I'm going to use CAH. So cos of theta equals to the adjacent length, which is 2, divided by the hypotenuse length, which is h. So remember, a over h. Okay, so just reminding you right there. Cool. And what we'll have is we're trying to find theta. So that means we'll have the inverse of cos in brackets 2 divided by 6. And again, we go back to our calculator and we go, oops, shift cos in brackets 2 divided by 6. And we find our angle is 70.5. I'll just round it to one decimal place. So theta equals 70.5 degrees. Alright, so that's how we do it. So again, identifying what our sides are and using SOH CAH TOA to determine what the angle is. And the last triangle we'll do is we've been given an opposite and an adjacent. So over here we'll be using tan of theta equals the opposite divided by the adjacent lengths. Okay, so tan of theta equals 5 over 4. Alright, and again we're trying to find theta. So theta equals the inverse of tan, or tan to the power of negative 1, in brackets 5 over 4. So again, I go back to my calculator, shift tan, bracket 5 divided by 4, and close the bracket. And I get 51.34. So I just write that as 51.3, round it to one decimal point. 51.3 degrees. Alright, so that's how we find an angle, alright, of a triangle given two sides, right, using SOH CAH TOA.